Well, after an episode of stalling and flashback sequences, it is now finally time for a decision to be made regarding the love triangle. Hey guys, Kevin for Girl Meets World, Season 3, Episode 9, Girl Meets Ski Lodge Part 2, and I was definitely really looking forward to this episode. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't want you guys to think I didn't like Part 1, because I did enjoy Part 1. I thought it was a very fun episode, with actually some really entertaining and very well thought out flashbacks. Honestly, I thought they were very entertaining, and I really enjoyed them overall. I know a lot of people didn't, but I overall really did enjoy them. It's just, when I was thinking about Girl Meets Ski Lodge, it's not at all what I expected, this Part 1, Part 2 episode to be like. I expected a big cliffhanger at the end of Part 1, and I just didn't think that Riley and Evan talking was enough of a cliffhanger, really. And in the end, did it really do anything? I mean, we'll get to that in a second, because I really do want to talk about that. The other thing I want to say is that I meant to review this yesterday. I just didn't get a chance to. I don't know why, but I rewatched the episode, and I will say this with this episode, is that one thing about Girl Meets Ski Lodge, this is more of what I expected. This episode was amazing. I love this episode. We finally got some closure going on here, and I really love the role that Evan played in all this, because I thought it was very clever what they did. It honestly was kind of unexpected where this took us, but let's just get in this episode, because we start off right where the last episode left off. But I will again say that I really don't think they should have made this a Part 1, Part 2 episode, because honestly, this just feels like a continuation of the last episode. It doesn't feel like a Part 2. All it feels like is we went to a commercial break and now we're back. So, to me, I just felt like this, again, would have been better served as an hour episode. But, as an episode, this was a lot more of what I wanted, definitely. But really, one thing about this episode, I will definitely think about it as one big episode. It's how I'll think about it, you know. I won't think of it as Girl Meets Ski Lodge Part 2 and Part 1. I'll just think of it as Girl Meets Ski Lodge. And honestly, I hope that when this airs again, like when this is on Disney Channel again, that they just show both parts back to back, because the episode feels very incomplete without the second part. And that's unlike Girl Meets High School, which I feel stands out on its own, or even Girl Meets Texas, which I feel stands out on its own. But let's get into this episode, because I really did love it overall. Like I said, this was much more of what I wanted. We start off right where the last episode left off, with Riley and Evan talking, and it's a really nice scene. I actually really like this character. I was worried that he was going to be a Lauren 2.0, and he's anything but, because we very quickly realized that, and I don't know how I didn't pick up upon this, but he works at the ski lodge, and it's probably because, like I said, my audio was really bad when I watched it the first time, because it was on really like shitty quality, but he actually works at the ski lodge, and he dreams of actually being a Sherpa. He wants to be, is what it's called, basically a tour guide for the ski lodge to explore, to get people to explore a new place they didn't think they could explore before. And he says this throughout the entire episode, and you know, Riley says to share a secret with her, and she even says that, you know, she's the one that he tells, and she says that, that it's a terrible idea what he wants to do to be a Sherpa, but then we see that it is now morning. They've been talking all night long, and Corey and Topanga have been witnessing the entire thing, which I thought was really funny. I love the line where Topanga's like, I like him now. I thought that was really funny. Good stuff there overall, and Riley realizes that, you know, that there's basically nothing she can do about this, that they're not going to help her. I just thought it was a very good way to start things out. Definitely really did like that. Serves up a really nice conflict. So, right after everyone witnesses what Riley and Evan have done, I thought definitely was very funny that we saw that. Basically, we then see, after this happens, that, also, I, again, love the parallels with, Corey and Lauren. There were a lot more of those throughout this episode, because Corey pretty much does everything that, like, they do in this episode, and I thought that was definitely a lot of fun to watch, his reactions to things. We'll get into that in a second. We then get this really great talk between Josh and Riley, which I think really sum up how things are going, because very rarely have we had a scene where these two get to just talk, because it's always been, he's in a room, Maya's there, Maya wants to flirt with him, that kind of thing, and, that's something that, I really, you know, I definitely like seeing that these two actually get to have some alone time together, and they actually get to talk about something. But basically, this is their chance to finally talk to him, and he talks about how great of friends that Riley and Maya are, and how close they are and everything, and she talks about, you know, what's really going on with Evan and Lucas and this whole complicated triangle thing. And, she even asked, why would Maya like Lucas? And, she says straight out that she doesn't. She says she doesn't like her. And basically, she doesn't like him. And even brings up this point that Maya might be wanting to protect Riley from something. So this right away, I thought this was a really great conversation. Uriah Shelton was so great in this episode. I think it's because he didn't have a ton of scenes in the last episode that I really realized here, he's a really damn good actor. I mean, I really wish they'd show him a lot more, but he really is a great actor, and I'm glad they used him in this episode because, again, he was supposed to be the thing to end this triangle, and without a doubt, he definitely does, because he basically brings up this idea that Maya doesn't really love Lucas. She's just doing this to protect Riley, and Riley goes to Maya, asks her what she's protecting her from. Maya has no idea what she's talking about, really. This was before Maya and Lucas tried to talk. Didn't exactly work. I thought it definitely was pretty funny that we saw that, because Maya starts to question things here. Why did she pour a smoothie on, Lucas? Why did she do this? I mean, that's a big deal. Obviously, the first time they tried to date, she tried to pour a smoothie on him, and that just didn't really work out, we see. And basically, they start to talk about how Riley and Lucas tried things. It didn't really work. Then Maya and Lucas tried, and that results in her pouring a smoothie on him. So she doesn't really understand why she did this, how that whole action took place. She doesn't understand any of this. Meanwhile, we get this great scene between Lucas and Josh where they're talking, and Josh, Lucas is really concerned about Evan, wondering what that means. Josh says that it might mean that Riley's not into him anymore, and I basically think this is Josh's way of saying, look, dude, you need to make a decision. You need to, let them know what your decision is. You need to stop stalling, just make your decision, and I think that's really what he's trying to say, that if he doesn't make a decision, that Riley's going to grow disinterested. And I don't think that's true, but I think that's just Josh's way of saying you really need to make your decision here, or else you're going to lose the girl. And obviously, Lucas doesn't want to lose the girl, so he's really worried about that. But I really did like the scene between those two. I thought that definitely was very well done. But then we get the big scene, which really is what brings this episode to, really is when this episode gets great, which has to do with the couples game. If you remember, there was a book in Boy Meets World called Who Belongs with Who, in that episode where Corey was with Topanga, cheated on her with Lauren and everything, and that book comes back into play here, because Evan, Farkle, and Lucas are talking, and Farkle basically say they want nothing to do with him. They think he knows too much about Riley, they don't want to talk to him, but there's nothing really they can do about it. He's kind of just there, they can't really do much about it, and you can tell again, he's there to, like he said, bring them to extraordinary new places that they didn't think they could have been explored, as in end things that they don't think they can really end, solve things that aren't solvable, and that's what he really wants to do. He wants to get those answers. He wants those answers to finally come out, and he feels that it is his destiny and that it's his duty to do so, and that's what he's going to do, also because he wants to be a Sherpa, which honestly, I really did like this character of Evan. I thought he did a very good job. Now, I don't think we're going to see him again, because, again, he works the ski lodge. There's no way we're going to see him again, and I'm glad we aren't, because I think he just worked really well in this one episode, but I liked his character overall. So basically, he brings out this game of who belongs with who, and Corey's freaking out to the point where he doesn't want them to play it. He even remembers the first question and says that he's a phoenix. I mean, just such a funny scene. Absolutely love that. Just great stuff. Not a ton from Corey and Topanga here, but when they were here, they were just great. I love what they did with them, and all the stuff I wanted with them in the first episode, we got here, which I really was happy about. But basically, this is really when it comes out. We see Farkle, Zay, and Smackle join as well. They're kind of like the third wheel here, but what I really like is the way that we see progression with any relationship, really, because he talks about how, Evan talks about this isn't just for, the love triangle, it's for any relationship, including a friendship or even just acquaintances, any kind of friendship. He changes the question. He says the question is, what is the most important part of a relationship? And basically, they realize very quickly that the most important part, now Riley thinks that it's romance, which again, that's something that Riley said when they were talking about the movies and what movie they wanted to watch. And then when Maya goes, she talks about, Lucas says adventure, which Maya immediately thinks is about breaking the rules, which Lucas doesn't want to be a part of, because the fact that we know that path that sent Lucas down in the first season. He went through all those trouble. We know, of course, we know all that from, when he was in Texas. We know all that stuff he went through, and, how rebellious he used to be. But basically, Maya is asking why he doesn't want to break the rules. goals and everything, and they basically realize, well, Farkle and Smackle do, that the most important component of a relationship is conversation. And what I liked about this is that we actually got some good, very small stuff, but good stuff between Farkle and Smackle. I've heard a lot of people ask, why are Smackle and Farkle together if Smackle's just gonna flirt with every guy? I've said it before, Smackle's a flirt, okay? She's very playfully flirts with Lucas, it's clear she's got a bit of a crush, but at the end of the day, those two love to talk to each other, and those two can have any type of conversation. I mean, remember the conversation they had when Farkle found out that Smackle had Asperger's? I mean, it was a very real conversation between those two, and that could be a reason why Smackle flirts. Maybe that's part of her Asperger's even. I mean, I know that's a bit of a stretch, but it might be true that that could be part of her Asperger's. I mean, think about it, really. She can't really control half the stuff she's doing, and we haven't heard a lot about it. That's because Farkle accepts it, and he sees her beyond that, and they can just have a conversation about everything, and that's why they really love each other the way they do. They admit that they love each other. I thought it was just a really nice scene. I like the way that was done, and just really small things like that I really love. I also love that Zay is very much third wheel right now, trying to hug them. I mean, he had some great lines here. Zay didn't have a ton of stuff to do here. In fact, I think this was like Zay's only one of 2 scenes, but I still thought he was really good. I like what he did in this episode. Definitely a lot of fun to watch. I've always really liked Zay. But this really gets them to figure things out because, you know, Maya says that she's done. She goes to talk to Josh, we see. Riley says she's gonna go because she needs a minute to think things over because really, obviously, after this, there's a lot to process. And then, Lucas leaves as well. But then Farkle and Smackle are still with, Evan. And they can tell that there's definitely something more going on because they ask, you know, they ask to see the book and Smackle distracts him. They realize that he made up the questions. It is the same exact book that Corey had. You know, he said it was an updated version, but it's the same exact book that they had. And the reason he gave this to them is because it applies more to them. And he really wants, again, to be the one to solve their problems. And so that was a really good scene. It shows that you can trust him, and it shows that he's not there for any bad reason. He's there to help them repair this relationship, and he really, again, he even wants this to end. And we also find out in the scene that when Riley talked to him, she didn't talk much about herself. She didn't really open up to him, rather than she talked about all her friends and how much they mean to her. And I think that just is the perfect characterization of Riley, because Riley will always think of others before thinking about herself, and that's something I've always loved about Riley, is even at the end of the day, Riley always thinks of herself. You know, Riley always thinks of her friends over herself. She's very selfless. She's very 2 to 3 dimensional, and that's something I absolutely love about her character, and something we definitely see here. So there really was no romantic spark between those two. Evan just happened to be the guy there when Riley just needs someone to talk to. That's really how it worked. You know, Riley needs someone to talk to that wasn't Maya, and Evan had to be, you know, happened to be that guy. It really was just a random coincidence, and I like that it was that and not some sort of romantic pairing, because I think it just would have complicated things. I'm glad that it wasn't, and I'm glad that Evan did play a role here, but not as big as a role as we thought he was going to play, and not as big as a role as the Disney Channel promo said he would play. And just a quick little rant, Disney Channel really needs to stop promoting the show as a romance series when it comes to how to advertise the triangle. It's never been a love triangle. It's been a quarrel between 3 friends and a decision that they just don't want to make because they don't want to face change. And I think this next scene with Maya and Josh perfectly culminates that and perfectly shows what the whole reason that this triangle has been going so long, what it's really been about, because they talk and Maya talks about, you know, her and Lucas and everything and how she really felt about him. Remember, Maya was trying to find the one thing she liked about Lucas, and she didn't find it, and the reason she didn't is because she realizes in this scene that she really doesn't like Lucas. She doesn't like Lucas. The only reason that she liked Lucas is because she wanted to protect Riley. That is the only reason. She felt that Lucas was too good of a guy. There had to be something in him that just wasn't good enough for Riley, and she couldn't find that, so she put the smoothie on him to mess him up, and basically Riley stepped back for her because she thought that Maya liked him. So really this was all a big misunderstanding in the sense that Maya was just trying to protect Riley and basically just, I think, study Lucas, see if he really was a good guy for her, and in the end, just she saw that she wasn't attracted to Lucas. Who she is attracted to, though, is Josh, and we get this great scene where he's not letting go of her hand, and it's just, I definitely really thought that was a fun scene that we saw. I definitely really did enjoy that, and just a great twist, because it totally makes sense. I mean, as much as I liked Maya and Lucas, I've never really seen them as endgame. I haven't really. I thought that those two were probably going to get together in this episode or someone's going to have them there, but it was never going to be endgame. I don't think they're really ever going to get together. Why? Because those two are just playful. And we even saw in part one that, Lucas says the thing he likes about Maya is not arguing with her. He doesn't like that. She enjoys that, but he doesn't. That very well shows that those two are not compatible for a relationship. Maybe a friendship, but not a romantic relationship. That's not what Maya wants, that's not what he wants, and that's what Maya makes very clear to him in this next scene. So, knowing this information that she doesn't really like Lucas, she decides to basically make it seem like she wants Lucas all to herself, which I thought was very funny the way she did it. And then she says to Lucas that you're never going to let me say these things to you, and you're never just going to say anything. Because again, Lucas is such a good guy that he can't get mad at anyone. And that's something that she definitely shows there. Oh, also, I love the scene, I forgot to say, during the couples game, where, during the, the book of Who Belongs with Who, Lucas says, I'm going to go out and kick a tree, and Zay says, I'm going to go out and stop him from kicking a tree. I thought that definitely was very funny. But basically, Maya goes to Lucas, says she wants him all to herself. Lucas obviously doesn't say anything just because of how good of a guy he is. And Maya basically admits that he's just such a good guy and she really wants a smoothie. And basically admits that she doesn't like him and tells him straight out, go find Riley, tell her he loves her. And he doesn't know what to do at first because, he thought that Maya liked him, now realizing she doesn't. This really is something he wasn't prepared for. He was prepared to, I think, what was definitely going on here. I thought that definitely was very interesting, that we saw that, because all this time we thought that she liked him. Now he's realizing that she doesn't. And I think it's also because I think deep down he knew that Riley was his choice. The only reason he picked Maya is because he would feel bad if he didn't pick Maya. That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking when he made that decision in Girl Meets Triangle, a part of him really wanted to pick Riley, but deep down, even though he I think was going to pick Maya, deep down he always wanted to pick Riley. It's always been Riley. She's the one he's had meaningful conversations with, and that perfectly gets us to the final scene. Well, not the final scene, but the big scene this episode where finally the triangle is resolved because Riley's by the window. Lucas comes up to her and says, the one thing I love in this world is when you talk to me, and, there's nothing better than that, and talks to her about everything, about their, conversations, and how he says she can have many conversations, but he wants all of their deep, meaningful conversations to be with each other, and she agrees to that. And there's this great scene where he gives her this jelly bean, which she at first thinks is a ring, but it's the jelly bean that they put on the scale. If you remember, they couldn't make a decision between the two, and this perfectly shows how they're not copying Boy Meets World. If you remember, Corey could not make a decision between Topanga and Lauren. He never could, and when he eventually did make that decision, he just randomly got back with her. In fact, I don't think that's probably one of the worst executed storylines in Boy Meets World history, in my opinion at least. I don't really think they handled that storyline very well. Here, though, he actually did make a decision, and he kept the jelly bean, gives it to Riley, and basically makes it a promise and everything, which I thought was very well done. And she talks about, if he wants to get a sandwich, will he get one for her too? And he says he'll get a drink and a cake, which I thought was very funny. The scene where she said, if there was a dance or something, they'll go together. And basically, she admits that she does want to be with him. These two are in fact going to go out, and finally we have made a decision. And honestly, I wasn't a Ruckus shipper. I've said to you guys before, I don't ship. I just don't. I think it's dumb, it's petty, and there's no reason to ship these characters. I mean, again, they're 15-year-olds, and I'm not gonna ship two 15-year-olds together. I just have better things to do in my time. And this show in general is not about ships. It's about that friendship between Riley and Maya, and this show really does show that, especially because this isn't the last scene of the episode. There are 2 more scenes left after this, but I do think that Lucas and Riley do belong together, because really when you think about those dream sequences that we got, like I told you guys would matter eventually, and they do in fact matter in this episode. The point of that was to show that Maya and Lucas are just best friends, kind of fighting crime together and getting into rebellious situations, while Riley and Lucas are in fact endgame, and they are going to stay together, and I definitely really did like that. But keep in mind, guys, Michael Jacobs did in fact say that don't expect what you think here. Maybe these two aren't going to end together. I don't really know. I'm glad that these two are going to try things out. I thought that definitely was very well done. I like that he finally made a decision, and it finally brings the love triangle to a close. And also because the fact that Lucas makes Riley happy and they can really confide in each other. In fact, in this scene, he talks about the night at the library and how much he felt close to her and everything. But also at the end of the scene, we see for the first time in a while, a smile is actually sprouting upon Riley, and not a fake smile. This is a real smile. She's finally happy, mainly because of closure. She's gotten the closure she wants, because remember, she wanted to end this triangle at the ski lodge. She wanted to be the one to end it. She did end it, and she got a lot more than she bargained for in Lucas, but not just that. Her friendship with Maya is fine, and no one really has any sort of, blood between them. Everyone really is on good terms, and it's better than she could have ever imagined. But it's not the end of the episode, because basically Josh goes to Maya, and I love how she's like, what do you want? I thought that definitely was a lot of fun. And they talk about really what they're going through. And Josh talks about how he really sees a change in Maya, because if you remember, the reason he didn't want to be with Maya is not just because of the fact that she's 3 years younger than him. That doesn't really matter to him anymore. The reason is because she was still growing up and trying to find herself. But Maya really made this very adult decision of coming to the realization that Lucas is not hers, and that it's Riley's, and that she needs to step back for Riley, that she doesn't really like anything about Lucas. Who she likes is Josh, and he admits that he likes her too, and he wants a friend. Now, he doesn't say girlfriend, but he does say that he'd be stupid not to have a friend like her, and he'd be stupid not to have someone to confide in like her. He sees the decision that she's made, and remember, the reason that Maya likes Josh is not just because he's a good-looking, she feels he's a good-looking guy, and that he's Riley's cousin and everything. That's not the reason. It's also because of the fact that she sees a really good man who makes good decisions, and knows what he wants, and she wants someone like that. She doesn't just want a nice guy. She wants more to it than that, and I think we definitely do see that here. There's definitely more about that, then, what's going, there's definitely more to Josh than just a nice guy. That's what Lucas is. Lucas is the titular nice guy who, has been through shit in his life, but now he's just kind of a nice guy, while Josh is just has a lot more to him that Maya really likes, and he admits that he does like Maya too. Basically, they say that they are in fact going to get together someday, which I thought was a very well done scene. I really like that overall, and I think this is a good thing. I like that these two are in fact going to get together someday. They're going to try things out. I thought that was definitely a lot of fun to watch, and I really enjoyed that. Definitely thought that was a good way to show things for Maya, and it makes sense. I think from this transformation and from Maya finding herself, she's realized that she wants someone like Josh and not someone like Lucas. She wants a man that has a future ahead of them, and not just someone that is too good for her, because someone who's too good, Maya is good, but she's not completely good. I mean, she does have some bad in her. She'll always have the bad in her, and she wants someone who likes that about her. Lucas does not like that rebellious side about her, but Josh does. Josh appreciates that about her. Josh likes her overall, and Josh, I think, is just the better guy for her. So eventually those two are going to get together. I'm looking forward to seeing what happens with that. They basically, she even talks about how there are 6 weeks where they're not 3 weeks, 3 ages apart, and I definitely really did enjoy that. I thought that was a lot of fun to watch, and I definitely really I love, these two have really good chemistry. Uriah Shelton and Sabrina Carpenter, as good as Peyton Meyer and Sabrina Carpenter are, I think they're dating in real life. That's why, they work very well together. Uriah Shelton and Sabrina Carpenter just have fantastic chemistry, and you really do believe that these two could be a couple, and honestly, I'm really rooting for these two in the future. I think they work very well together, and I can't wait to see what they do, and where they go with the storyline, after where this goes from here, because you definitely know these two are going to have a future together. These two probably are going to get together at some point. I'm looking forward to seeing what's going to happen the next time we see Josh. So then we get to the end of the episode where we see Corey and Topanga. They're leaving the ski lodge. They're packing things up, and Topanga talks about how she loved coming there and how she'd love to come there again. But then Evan very subtly drops the hint that his mother is in fact Lauren. Says, my mother says hello. Topanga says, no, we're never coming here again. And I love that. Thought that was definitely a lot of fun to watch. I just thought that was very fun reveal, and we kind of saw that coming. I heard a lot of people say that Evan most likely is Lauren's son. What I like about Evan, though, is that unlike his mother, he didn't try to go for Riley. He knew that, again, Riley was not his. He was there to repair and fix a relationship and show and make them get them to make a decision and help them out rather than complicate things. He wasn't there for that. He was there to help rather than to complicate, and I definitely did like that. And the twist in the end really was that Maya wasn't, for Lucas, and that's something I definitely really did like. So then we get to the ending scene, which again, really to show that the show really is about the friendship between Riley and Maya, and that's really what it's about. It's not about just it's not about the love triangle. It's really not about that, and this scene really does show that. Basically, Riley's talking about how her and Lucas are going to try. Maya says that her and Josh are going to be together someday, and they basically say that no matter what happens, they'll always be, they'll always have this friendship. Their bond will never be broken. They say thunder, lightning again, and you can just see they're finally on good terms, finally putting this triangle behind them, finally moving on from this, ready to begin again, and I absolutely love that. Love the way that was done. Really good stuff there. Maya realizes that Riley and Lucas are meant to be, and that they should be together, and that there's no cracks in Lucas, and that Riley clearly does love him and that they should be together. Riley realizes that Maya doesn't like Lucas and that she shouldn't step back for her, and that Maya doesn't want Lucas to herself, and thinks it's a perfect ending to really a really interesting storyline that I absolutely loved, and definitely puts this episode to a perfect close. So overall, guys, like I said, this was definitely more of what I expected part 1 to be. I enjoyed it a lot more. I thought there was some really great scenes here, especially the scenes between, basically anything regarding the triangle. I thought was very well done. I really loved the, Riley and Lucas are now together. I'm looking forward to seeing how this goes. I hope that this relationship lasts for a while. I'm assuming it's going to last a while. I don't think it's going to last forever. Like I said, Michael Jacobs said, don't expect this show to be what you think, and I'm assuming that in the end, Riley's going to end up with Farkle. I've heard a lot of people say that she's probably going to end up with Farkle, and honestly, I kind of believe that. Maya's not ending up with Lucas ever, though. I don't think that's really going to happen. As much as I kind of wanted those two, I think it's just because they share such good chemistry, and that's why we really want them. I don't think there really could be a genuine relationship. I think we definitely see here those two would not work in that type of relationship. As friends, yes, but not in a relationship sort of way. They just really wouldn't. Josh and Maya, however, are going to date sometime, and I'm looking forward to seeing where that goes in a couple seasons. Hopefully, that's something I hope the show can explore, because the fact that Disney Channel doesn't go beyond 3 seasons, I'm hoping that at some point we will get to see those two. I mean, I'm just hoping we do at some point, because I think it'd be interesting to see where that does really take them if those do end up in a genuine relationship. I am looking forward to seeing where that goes. I like this stuff between Farkle and Smackle, the small stuff we got there where Farkle admits he does really love Smackle and that he does want to talk, that he does love talking to her. Just thought it was a really nice scene. Really good stuff like that I really did enjoy, and really small stuff I thought really worked in this episode. And I also love that the genuine message of this episode isn't just about, love in terms of, the relationship in terms of love or boyfriend and girlfriend, but also the love between friends and Riley and Maya. That's really what this episode was all about. It's about Riley. Well, every episode's kind of about them. But this episode in general was really about that friendship and how they didn't want to complicate it. Maya felt that Riley was changing because of high school and things like that, and she didn't want Lucas to be that kind of guy that would hurt Riley. She really wanted to help Riley because she loves her and everything, like a sister, and I absolutely loved that. I thought that was very well done. I loved the character of Evan. I thought he did a lot more than I thought he was going to, but he didn't do what I thought he was going to do. I'm glad that he wasn't there to complicate things. Like I said, he was there to help them out, and I definitely really did like that. And moving forward, I'm glad we have this triangle behind us, because as much as I did like this storyline, it was getting a little bit ridiculous to keep this going for so long, but I understand why, obviously. Riley and Lucas didn't want to make a decision because they didn't want to upset Maya. Maya didn't want to admit that she didn't love Lucas because she didn't want to make Riley feel like they were, stepping back for her for nothing. And finally, she admitted she doesn't like Lucas. She realized there really wasn't anything she liked about him, and I really did like the way that whole thing was done. But overall, guys, let me know what you guys thought of this episode. Like I said, I really felt this should have been in 1 hour episode. I just think it would have been a lot more beneficial to the show if they would have done that. But Absolutely love this episode. One of the best episodes of the season by far. Definitely really did love it. I think for me, this was like Girl Meets High School. If Girl Meets High School, if this was the first part, and then the second part was Girl Meets High School Part 2, because that's just how it works for me. Like I said, Part 1 of Girl Meets High School I like more, but Part 2 of Girl Meets Ski Lodge I like a lot more. Definitely, that's how I would put it at least. And like I said, I really think it should have been a 1-hour episode. But I don't know what you guys saw this episode. What did you think of the decision overall? And please don't get upset over the love triangle. Again, this show is not about a love triangle. If you guys are so hung up on Lucas and Maya not getting together, stop watching the show, because it's not going to happen. Those two are not getting together anytime soon. And I know there are certain YouTubers, I'm not going to mention any names, Smurf Vlogs, but they, they try to, watch the show just to get a certain ship together. That's not what this show is about. This show is about growing up and friendship and the power of friendship and, dynamics and things and just, change and everything. That's what this show is really about. Boy Meets World was never about a love triangle, and neither is Girl Meets World. And you guys really need to understand this. If you guys are so hung up about it, stop being so hung up about it, because the show is what it is, and this was Michael Jacobs' decision, and I'm really happy that Michael Jacobs did what he wanted to do and not do what the fans wanted, because 99% of the fandom right now is Lucaya, and I will admit that I did kind of want Lucaya, but I'm happy with what they did with Ruckus, because it makes perfect sense why they wanted these two together. I don't think you could have gotten Lucas and Maya together and make it somewhat realistic. I think Riley and Lucas was endgame all along, and I think that just makes a lot more sense. But overall, guys, enough of that. Let me know what you guys saw of this episode, left your thoughts in it, what you think of everything that went down. I will see you guys in my next video, which will be for a movie review, and I'll see you guys for that. Okay, bye.